about the governance. We'll be having an overview about the governance and the related outcomes. We'll be focusing on this hour on the new function, which is now part of the CSF framework. We'll talk a bit about the governance and how to make it happen, how to implement it. We'll be sharing with you also some resources in order to operationalize governance in your business. Okay, so this is what we'll be seeing today. I really like this picture. It was from an article back in 2017, where one of the board members came to the IT engineers table, or let's say department, and he was seeking assistance from the cybersecurity professional, telling them that we now think that your place is within the board, because now we have interesting stakes related to cyber, related to mostly cyber incidents and attacks. And the IT used to be purely support function, but now it's no longer the case. IT is seen as essential for enabling business and accelerating business, especially now by relying on cloud and artificial intelligence. So there is a huge benefits while using IT, but on the other side, there are a lot of issues and constraints that need to be taken seriously. So this was back in 2017. So now we are in 2024. So basically, cyber risks is considered one of the top cyber issues that need to be, or one of the top risks that need to be taken seriously by any given business worldwide. Before delving into the governance function within the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, it's good to have an idea or to distinguish between governance and the management. So let's start first with the management. So management is basically execution by a team, different leaders within the enterprise in the aim to plan, organize, build or acquire solutions, deploy them, make them running as expected from the business, and supervising them and monitoring them and making sure that we are in compliance and we are in the aim of achieving our business-related objectives. So this is basically management. Usually management is managed by an executive management, which is managed by CEO in collaboration with different senior officials from in the company. Whereas governance is an activity mostly related to the board of directors or top management, which is all about evaluating different options and needs and requirements. Based on those, we should be able to identify some objectives in which all stakeholders are agreed upon, and then translating those objectives into a roadmap or strategy or direction by prioritizing and decision making. And at the same time, we should be continuously monitoring and supervising activities to making sure that while we are able to achieve our objectives, we are in compliance to whatever rules or requirement that we are exposed to. So you should be distinguishing between those. So these both definitions are from ISACA glossary, which is available online. So governance we used to refer to it as EDM. EDM is evaluate, direct, and monitor. Whereas management, we use different functions, or we call them also domains. So APO, align, plan, and organize. BIA means build, acquire, and implement. DSS means deliver, service, and support. MEA means monitor, evaluate, and assess. And you can look at the COVID documentation in order to have more ideas in regards to governance and management related activities and processes. Okay, so do we really need governance in our enterprise? For sure, we do. So the focus here is on cybersecurity governance, right? So it's critical in today's nowadays, considering the threat landscape that most businesses are exposed to. Through governance, we should be able to have the right decisions and format-based decisions, or we call them also risk-based decisions, We should be able to ensure accountability by attributing the right role and the responsibilities and making people accountable in regards to the decisions that are taken. And most importantly, making sure that whatever risks that we are exposed to, those risks are managed correctly and accordingly. Okay, so there are a lot of benefits toward governance. So in regards to governance, so it's the aim is to ensure due diligence to make sure that we are working and assisting business to achieve its objectives. So usually IT and security is perceived as something which is consuming budgets. But by putting a right governance effort in place, you should be able to not only preserve in value through security-related initiatives, but also creating a value. Okay, so and through security governance, we should be able to be in compliance to different laws and regulations and the agreement that you are exposed to adhere to and align to. And we should be able to have a better security posture by involving top management in security-related activities. So governance is interesting, and we should really do our best to operationalize it within our enterprise. Okay, so this is a picture from the cybersecurity framework, in which you can get from freely from the NIST website. So there are different activities conducted within the cybersecurity functions. So everybody is involved. So basically, the board or top management that, or otherwise the executives that are responsible for setting the mission and priorities and the strategy and clearly stating their risk appetite and tolerance. And based on those priorities and objectives will be translated into activities, into initiatives in order to make sure that we are in the road of achieving whatever objectives set by top management. So this is basically management executing, putting a right plan in place and make it happen in order to make sure that whatever strategy in place, we are in the aim of achieving our goals. Okay, for sure, in order to do so, we rely on different practitioners from the inside and from the outside in order to implement different security, for example, controls or processes, and hiring the right people in order to put the right security-related efforts in place in order to address the risks we are facing. So the risks change all the time, so we should be continuously monitoring and making sure that whatever risks we are exposed to, those risks are managed properly. Okay, so in this graph should be able to distinguish between governance and management. So basically, top management is responsible for ensuring governance, whereas execution is the responsibility of top management and the rest of the enterprise. Okay, so the focus today will be on governance. So as per the NIST Cybersecurity Framework in the latest release, which was published last year, one of the most important changes is the introduction of new function, which is govern. We used to have only 5 different functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And now we have a new function, which is govern. Basically, it states or takes into account 6 different main topics in regards to the context of the enterprise, in regards to putting a strategy and roadmap in place. There's also the identification of roles and responsibilities and making sure we have the right authorities in place, translating the strategy into policies, procedures, and guidelines, making sure that everything we are keeping an eye in regards to the activity by ensuring oversight. And there is also another activity which is taking into account our suppliers. Not only we are doing the necessary to have the right security posture in place, but we should be also considering the risks that are coming originating from our suppliers. Okay, so these topics, they're actually translated into one function, which is the govern function here, in which it contains 6 different categories. The NIST, they prefer the term categories. We can call them capabilities if we want. Those categories, they are translated into a total of 31 subcategories. These subcategories, we can simply call them results or expected outcomes that we should be able to achieve. And then they add this new interesting option in which we didn't have before, which are the examples. So for any given category, you will have a list of different examples to consider. Those examples, they helps a lot to understand those expected outcomes. Okay, so in average, we have you can say about five categories, subcategories for each five subcategories for each category. So in total, we have about 30 different categories or outcomes. And in the following slides, we'll be looking at those one by one. Okay. Do not hesitate to ask questions, or if you have any concerns, you can put them in chat. We will be trying to address those at the end. Okay, so this is the new governance function. So by the way, it represents about one third of the cybersecurity the core components. Okay, so 70% or let's say 2/3 about the different management related activities, which is related to the identification, protection, detection, respond, and recover. Whereas governance, you can say there is about 30 to 1/3 of the activity or the focus, which is on the governance. So you see here, NIST, they did put an emphasis on the governance related activities in which we didn't have before. Okay, so governance is all about putting a strategy in place, defining some objectives, translating those into policies and procedures and activities, and making sure that everything is monitored. We have a governance system in place, and governance-related expectations have been properly communicated. Okay, so the aim here is to address the risks that we are facing, translating strategy into a roadmap that will be executed later on by the management team, putting some guardrails, or we call them principles or rules or policies, in order for everyone to follow and communicate outcomes that are expected through security-related initiatives, while continuously monitoring and making sure that we are keeping an eye on the activities. And they added also this another section which is dedicated to suppliers, and it's actually the biggest category within the entire cybersecurity framework, which is added in the new version of last year. Okay, so now we'll be going through the six categories, and we'll be seeing the sub categories, or we can call them simply outcomes. Okay, in the six following slides. So the first subcategory, the first category within the govern function is the organization context, in which we have five different subcategories or outcomes. So you should first start understanding the business, the mission, what's the enterprise trying to achieve in order to identify the related risks within our ecosystem or within our landscape. So this is first. The second thing is identifying stakeholders, both insider and internal and external stakeholders. They do have different needs, they do have different requirements and options, so their input need to be taken and need to be considered. We should be also identifying whatever applicable laws and regulations and contractual agreements in which we are expected to comply to. Okay, there is the compliance risks which need to be taken also into account. We should be also identifying critical business functions in which we have that usually relates to products and services which are consumed by our external and also internal stakeholders. They need to be identified, especially the impact related to those. So basically here we are talking about the business impact analysis, and the aim here is to identify the critical business functions and the impact if those are not if those functions are not available. The last item is identifying the dependencies toward services or products such as the one provided from the outside. So these need to be considered, and the related risks need to be addressed also. But there is an entire section in regards to the suppliers that will be checking out later on. Okay, so this is the first this is the first category. So for each category, we have the list of subcategories with examples. So these are just some examples that you may consider. Actually, there are different activities that need to be conducted, and later on we'll be discussing those in order to have an idea from where you can have more information about what's need to be done. Okay. The second category is the risk management strategy, or cyber security risk management related strategy, and there are 7 outcomes here within this second category. Okay, so cybersecurity related objectives or risk management objectives, they need to be identified, they need to be established. These objectives, they should be measured. You should be able to measure those, and we should be able to find out if we are in the process of achieving those or not. There is the risk-related terminology which need to be identified, mainly the risk appetite and risk tolerance. They need to be understood, and they need to be properly communicated and approved by top management and translated later on into the rest of the activities. We need to make sure that whatever cybersecurity risks related efforts, they are integrated, aligned with the enterprise risk management. And there is also, would you mind put your mic in mute if you don't mind? The fourth subcategory is identifying different risk treatment options that we may consider in order to deal with the risks that we are facing. So basically, we're talking here about risk acceptance, risk avoidance, risk modification, and risk transfer, as well as different risk-related options. And in order to have those, we need to define some kind of criteria in order to decide for any given risk what to do, whether to accept it or whether it needs to be treated or avoided. So we should be identifying some criteria and use those in order to deal with the risks that we are exposed to. Communication is important in regards to risk. We need to make sure that top management and other business leaders are informed, and we should consider different communication channels in order to communicate risk-related issues. Otherwise, we might be having some risk in silos, risks that top management or risk professionals, they are not aware about. Okay, we should be also formalizing the method or the approach in which we want to use in order to assess the risks that we are facing. So basically, we're talking here about selecting a tool or selecting an approach, whether qualitative or quantitative, selecting the method. There are different methods we can use in order to assess the risks we are facing, and put the right templates in place, such as, for example, risk registers and risk matrix and other tools that we can be using in order while assessing the risks that we are facing. For example, here we may want to take a look at ISO 31010, which contains a list of risk assessment techniques that we can consider. The last item, so we should be not only focusing on the negative aspects and issues, we should be also trying to identify the opportunities that we might be achieving while managing cybersecurity. We can rely, for example, on the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or other different techniques, risk assessment techniques, or management techniques, in order to identify opportunities related to cybersecurity. For example, while training people and raising their awareness, having the right competencies and skills, for example, in place. Or through security, we should be able to purchase some new products, automate some activities, for example, or we decide to externalize some activities to the outside. So we should be focusing on both issues and opportunity. We should not be forgetting the opportunities. Okay, So this is the second subcategory. The third the third category is role, responsibilities, and authorities. So basically here we're talking about the RACI metrics, in which we should be identifying who's responsible, who's accountable, who's whom to be informed, and whom to be consulted in regards to security related activities and processes. So it should be top management, they need to be held accountable in regards to security related matters. They need to have a tone at the top, and they should be the first individuals and teams to follow and adhere to whatever security policies we put in place. So those roles and responsibilities, they need to be identified, they need to be communicated, and they need to be included, for example, in policies and in different documents. So everyone should be aware of those. And we need also to make sure that people that are informed, and they should be adhering to those roles and responsibilities and play by the game rules. Okay, we need to make sure that we have the right resources, either physical, personal, or financial resources in place in order to have the right security posture in place. And the last subcategory, or the last outcome, is including considering security while dealing with individuals or human beings or employees. So such as, for example, including some provisions while onboarding or offboarding people, and making sure that people are aware and adhere to security related principles. Okay, so this is the third subcategory. Category. The fourth category within the governance function is policy, making sure we have the right policies, procedures, and guidelines in place. So whatever the strategy we have in mind, taking into account the objectives we set well ahead, those need to be translated into principles, into rules, into policies for everyone to follow. So these policies, they should be not only established and written and approved, they need to be communicated and need to be enforced by different means. We should be also reviewing those policies regularly to adjust to our security and the threat landscape. Okay. Another category, which is oversight, so basically surveillance and monitoring. So we should be making sure that we are able to achieve our objectives, the one we set well ahead. Those objectives, they need to be smart, and they need to be measured. So we cannot manage what we cannot measure, and we cannot improve what we cannot manage. So we should be measuring so we can manage and we can improve over time. Okay, so that's why monitoring and surveillance is important. So we need to make sure that whatever strategy we have in place, the strategy has been properly translated into activities and properly executed over time. So we should be continuously checking and making some reports and sharing them with the right individuals and top management, and make sure that whatever issues we are facing, those issues are being treated in a proper manner. One of the ways, for example, is sharing different risk-related, for example, such as risk-related reports, as well as audit-related reports, and making sure whatever non-conformities we have in place, those non-conformities have been properly addressed by different action plans. We should be also considering different metrics and indicators in order to supervise different related activities. So here you can consider some indicators related to performance, related to risk, related to controls, related to the goals and the objectives. So there are a variety of metrics that you can think of and you can put in place. Some of them you can collect manually, and others you should be able to collect automatically in order to have basically to develop some kind of dashboards and have visibility in regards to your security posture. Okay. The last subcategory, which is which is the biggest category within the entire cybersecurity framework, CSF, is cybersecurity in regards to supply chain. So basically, businesses, unlike before, they do more and more outsource activities, non-essential activities, in order to focus more on their proper products and services and their customers. But there are risks related to those. While you decide to outsource some activities to some partners, or to host your IT systems on the cloud, or rely on some vendors to provide you some services. So there is different risks involved, and those risks they need to be taken seriously. So okay, so there is a huge section in the CSF which is talking only about this related issues. So we should be, so there are 10 different outcomes. The first outcome is having a right program in place. So program means that we need to have different projects in order to address the risks and the issues related to suppliers. Okay, and we need to put a right strategy in place that can be executed afterwards in order to make sure that supply chain is managed adequately. The focus here is on security-related products and services, as well as IT-related products and services. But the focus more here on this section is on ICT systems, as well as, and for sure, security-related products and services which are being provided from the outside. Okay, so we need to define the roles and responsibilities both from the inside and the outside, and make sure those are properly documented in different policies. We need to, since this is an important thing, those related activities, they need to be included in the enterprise risk management. They should be part of the enterprise risk management. Now, more and more, we are seeing some individuals which are purely responsible for supply chain related activities, and there is an entire management system that you can consider and you can put in place in order to manage supply chain, which is 28001, ISO 28001, if I'm not mistaken. So suppliers, they need to be properly identified. They need to be prioritized based on the criticality of the services and products that they're delivering to us. And we need to make sure that whatever requirements we have, those requirements have been properly included in the contracts and the agreements, such as putting the right SLAs in place. So we should be continuously reviewing the contracts and the agreements and adjusting those if possible. Sometimes it's not possible to review those or to change those if possible, in order to assess the risks related to the suppliers. Okay. Another outcome is making sure that we have the right suppliers in place. So before before dealing with any given supplier, we need to do our due diligence, make sure that we have the right suppliers in place. So we should be actually putting some criteria and assessing suppliers based on those criteria in order to pick the right supplier. So we should be careful. So we used to say trust but verify. So we should be trusting whatever information we're obtaining from those suppliers, but we should also do our due diligence to make sure that we have the right, we're working with the right suppliers, because capabilities, they do change over time, and most of the time, or usually they degrade over time. So we should be continuously monitoring and supervising activities and services provided from suppliers, and make sure that they're in compliance to our expectations and requirements. Okay. So not only we should be doing that, we should be supervising and monitoring the activities provided and services provided by suppliers, and making sure that they are in compliance to whatever agreements we have. This includes also activities related to incident management. Sometimes we need support from the outside in order to deal with the incidents that we are having in the inside, or if there is incidents, different incidents occurred in our suppliers, we need to be informed, and their roles and responsibilities, they need to be properly clarified during dealing with incidents or catastrophes or crises. Okay, so same with the cybersecurity risk management activities. So supply chain risk management activities, they need to be included within the enterprise risk management. So not only that, for example, we may seek an evidence and have clear idea about what are the products and services that we are consuming, which are brought from the outside. For example, we can think of the software bill of material, in order to have an idea about the components that we are using, and making sure that whatever solutions and systems we are using, those are in compliance to our expectation. So we should be also thinking about an exit strategy at the end in case you decide to stop working with a given supplier, such as, for example, cloud provider, and consider alternative solutions. Sometimes it's not obvious, but we should be keeping an eye, because one day you may be forced or you may decide to stop working with a given supplier. So we should be assessing the related risks and making sure that we have some alternative solutions that we can rely to, either from the outside or within the inside. So this was quick overview about the different expectations and outcomes that need to be taken within the govern function. The question is now, how can I implement this govern function within the enterprise? So basically, you can start with doing some gap assessment in order to identify the current state versus the desired state as one explained or presented in the CSF, and translating those into an action plan. And consider putting some policies, procedures in place, and identifying some rules, and making sure whatever activity we have, top management is involved, and those activities that are aligned with business and included within the enterprise risk management. There is a webinar which was hosted by the NIST a couple of days ago. You can take a look at it, in which they talk about the different ways in order to implement the CSF. The recording should be available within the coming days, but now you can download the slides if you are interested from the NIST website. Okay, if you are really serious about governance and you want to go further, I really advise you to take a look at the COVID framework from ISACA, in which, by the way, you can download for free. You can download the two main publications for free from the ISACA website by simply creating an account and downloading those resources. They put in place a really interesting and comprehensive implementation roadmap if you are interested in putting a governance system in place. So basically, they do have 7 different phases, and in total, we have 21 different sub-phases with different activities that can be conducted in order to implement a governance and management system in place. And you can find out more information by visiting and getting the resource from the ISACA site. So in order to have a proper governance in place, we need elements, we need components that need to be considered. We used to say people, process, technology, right? But actually, we need more than that. ISACA, they have defined 7 different components that need to be considered in order to have the right governance and management system in place. So we need to formalize processes. We need to have a proper organizational structure. We need to have the right skills and competencies. We need to formalize the activities we need to put some policies in place and procedures and guidelines and framework. We need information as an input in order to execute the activities, and we deliver outputs. We need to consider ethics and culture-related aspects and issues, and we need also an IT infrastructure in order to execute some activities. So again, you may want to take a look at the COVID framework in order to have more idea about what are the components that we need. So as per ISACA, all those components are required. If one component is missing, so you have risk of not achieving whatever objectives that you are seeking to achieve. Okay, so there are a variety of resources available for free in the NIST website. Okay, in order to navigate the NIST CSF functions, domains, subcategories, categories, implementation examples, and in addition to that, you have also the possibility to find out about the mappings which are being made available between the CSF and other different resources. Okay, so there is an entire document that gives you a list of different resources which are available online. One of the resources is the reference tool, which is really interesting, in which you can see the entire CSF functions, categories and subcategories, in addition to examples as well as references. And you have the option to pick whatever reference you are interested in or you are working on, and you can find out the mapping and what are the expected outcomes. And this is the link. In order, you have also the possibility to download those into download it as an Excel sheet, and you can work on it offline. There is another tool which is similar, just different representation, which is the cybersecurity and privacy reference tool. So basically the same. You have the list of the list of functions. Within each function, you have the subcategories as well as the examples that can help you understand and have an idea about the expected outcome. Okay, and you can dig deep if you are interested in order to have an idea about the mapping between CSF and other references. There are different references which are now being mapped to the CSF. And right now we have 10 different references from different sources, so not only from the NIST institution, but we have also some references, for example, from the Cloud Security Alliance, from the SCF framework. We have also a mapping with the CS controls, as well as other references. Unfortunately, mapping is not yet available with ISO 27001 to 2022 version, as well as the COBIT framework. So this is one of the main references that they are not yet available, but we have so many references that we can take a look at. If you are already working with the previous version, you can consider this reference. If you are interested to go deep into the security controls, you can take a look at 853. And there is also this new mapping, which was made available a few weeks back, which is the mapping, which is with the SCF, which is really interesting framework. So keep a look at this page. They update it regularly to add new references once they are made available. Okay, there are some resources you can take a look at in order to operationalize governance within the enterprise. What came into mind is the risk-related guide, as well as the supply chain-related guides, in which you can get for free. Gives you some tips in order to have the right security risk-related efforts in order to address different issues and challenges. There is a new webinar, an upcoming webinar in May, in which NIST will be focusing on the govern function, similar to the one we are having right now. So keep an eye on this webinar. They haven't yet opened the registration, but it's a 1-hour webinar in which they should be sharing different ideas and tips in order to implement the govern function. Okay. If you want to go beyond the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, and if you are interested more in governance, so there are different standards and references that you can take a look at. These are some of those. They are provided from these are different sources. What comes in mind is the ISO standards for security governance. There is also COBIT framework, which is really interesting, and they do have two focus area in order to focus on information security and technology risk. You can get at the discount rate if you are an ISACA member, but there are some publications that you can get for free. So basically the introduction and the methodology document and the objectives document, the two main documents you can get for free. And there is also the new reviewed updated standards from the ISO in regards to enterprise governance as well as IT governance. Okay, so I really encourage you to get those if you are really into the governance. Okay, books, there are different books that you can take a look at. There are some security related, and there are some others which are IT related. Those should be really interesting and gives you an idea and tips in regards to security governance and IT governance in general. If you are really interested in the domain and you want to become a certified professional in governance, so there are different credentials from different vendors. Okay, most of them are how we call them vendor neutral providers. Okay, there are some which are security related, such as the CGRC from IC2, CISM and implementing NIST using COBIT. And there is also some IT related references, such as the C Guide from ISACA, as well as COBIT Foundation and implementation. And there is also the training certification from PECP 38,500. And there is also some general certification, which the focus more is on enterprise governance. Okay, so anyway, there are different credentials that you may wanna seek if you are interested in those related topics. Okay, so let's wrap up our call. Would you mind put your mic on mute if you don't mind? Thank you. So.
Yes.
The governance function is essential. It's vital if you really want to have good security posture. It should help you better manage and govern security-related issues. CSF provides just some basic outcomes that need to be considered, but there are other references that you can take a look at. So I encourage you to start with CSF, and then you can consider other references if you are interested. Okay, and ideally, instead of having governance function or cybersecurity related efforts which are isolated from the business, ideally they should be integrated and aligned with whatever efforts you have in the business, such as the enterprise risk management. And I advise you to take a look at different resources in order to have the right governance in place. Okay. So who's talking? Let's try to.
Yes, sir. I have muted.
So this is my action plan. So there are different resources I advise you to take a look at. Most of them are available free of charge from the NIST. Try to discuss those. Try to download those and discuss those with your colleagues. Try to identify whatever outcomes that you wanted to achieve. You are not obliged to follow all the activities or try to implement everything. It's just a framework, generic framework. You can pick whatever works best for you. And I really encourage you to come up with a business case and present it with top management, seeking their approval in order to have the right resources in place to make that happen. And you can include in the business case what we call the cost of doing nothing. Okay, this is an interesting idea. What's the cost of doing nothing if you decided not to have the right function in place? So this is it. I hope this was interesting for you guys. Now, if you have any questions or comments,
yes,
go ahead.
I think we have. So thank you, Bachir. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so thank you, Bachir, for all this information, and which brought, I guess, valuable insight and clarification for the audience. So we have one question from let me check, from Muhammad, I think. Yes, how to ensure we are in compliance with our cybersecurity expectation?
Good. So NIST CSF is not a compliance framework. It helps you to be in compliance, whatever requirement that you are exposed to. You can use it as a tool in order to help you be in compliance. But in order to make sure that you are in compliance, you need to pick those references that the one you are concerned to. For example, you might be concerned with GDPR or the AI EU Act or HIPAA or PCI DSS or whatever requirement that you are related to. You have controls that need to be put in place, and in order to assess the activity, in order to make sure that you are in compliance to those. So NIST CSF is a tool that can help you to be in compliance, but you cannot say that I am in compliance to NIST CSF. NIST CSF is a generic framework that you can pick and look at and use it as a reference in order to help you be in compliance. So compliance usually we have risk assessment. We do a risk assessment in place, and then we put some controls in place, and then we do the internal or let's say self-assessment or self-evaluation. And what's most importantly in compliance, so we do call our internal audit team in order to make the audit and make sure that we are in compliance. If there is any issues, they should be addressed adequately. And then you may have the option to go to the external audit team in order to give you assurance that you are effectively in compliance to whatever laws and regulation that you are supposed to adhere to. Hope this makes sense.
Yes, I think there is no question on the chat. I have one, by the way, Bachir, regarding the KPI. Are there any maybe predefined KPI list which can be maybe available or provided by NIST?
Good. What I really recommend you to take a look at COBIT framework. They do provide different metrics for the different objectives. So in COBIT 2019, we have 40 different objectives. So basically 40 processes, which includes security and risk-related processes. And in any given process, you have examples of metrics that should be considered. I forgot how was the total. If I'm not mistaken, there is 80. If I'm not really sure. I need to check that out. But anyway, there are different metrics that are already available within the COBIT framework, generic framework, metrics that you can take a look at. There is also the KPI Institute, KPI Institute, which provide different certifications and training in regards to different indicators, such as performance and risk-related indicators. So there is also the ISO 27004, which gives you a different idea and metrics in order to make sure that your SMS is performing as expected. So these are three resources that I do have in mind: COBIT framework, KPI institutes, as well as ISO 27004.
We have another. Thank you, Bachir, for that. Another question from Abdulrahim saying that how does the new govern function in NIST improve the alignment between cybersecurity risk management and the overall business objective, and what are some practical steps organization can take to implement it effectively?
Good. So this is what the talk was all about. Yeah, you're right. This is really interesting question. So in the previous release, we didn't have a business governance function. So basically, security was perceived as something related to managers and practitioners. Okay. In the new release, even though there is this emphasis of not changing the CSF because it has proven its value, but there was this need to add new function in order to emphasize the importance of governance. So right, you have 6 categories and you have 31 outcomes that you should be seeking. And for any given outcome, you have different references that you can take a look at. I can show you some references. Okay, so this is the reference tool which is provided, and I give you the link. So for any given outcome, okay, so this is, for example, an outcome, making sure that the mission is understood and from cybersecurity management. So you have one or different examples that you can take a look at, and most importantly, you have a reference here that you can take a look at in order to have more ideas or tips in order to satisfy this outcome or make this outcome happens. Okay, so these are just examples. Okay, in order to have an idea about what this outcome is all about. But what's really interesting is take a look at different references which are available here in order to have more ideas, and all those references that are available for free, and you can download the mapping for free from the NIST website. Okay, so basically you have just to go through the list, okay, and go through the outcomes one by one and see what can be done in order to make sure that everything is okay. In regards to the alignments, okay, I found COBIT really an interesting framework because they start first while trying to implement a governance system in place using COBIT, there is this first step, which is identifying stakeholders and their needs and expectations, and then do the mapping between their needs with the enterprise goals, and then do the mapping again with between the enterprise goals and IT goals, and then do the mapping between IT goals and the 40 different objectives. So I really encourage you to take a look at COBIT. They did a great job trying to make this alignment. Okay, so the idea behind this is the fact that since I have this alignment in place, whatever security-related efforts I'm considering right now, or I'm focusing right now, implicitly stakeholders related expectations are taken into account because I did my efforts in making sure that there is alignment and relationship between the two. Okay, and there is also a tool that you can download, which is the COBIT Design Toolkit. You can download for free in order to help you identify the context and identify different business-related factors, and try to come up with this mapping in order to find out which are the activities that you should be focusing on. And there is an entire document which is provided from ISACA in order to implement the NIST Cybersecurity Framework using COBIT. So you may want to take a look at it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Bachir. Maybe the last question we have on the chat. So from Haytham, can we consider NIST CSF as maturity assessment model?
Sure. Yeah, you can use it in order to measure your security-related activities and practices. NIST, they didn't come up with maturity assessment tool purely NIST CSF related, but they have so many publications related to the assessments of cyber risk related activities and practices. Then you can download those publications for free. Please go back to the last to the webinar we did last year, the workshop we did last year. We have presented, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 different resources. So basically Excel sheets made available by the community in which you can use in order to assess security-related activities using the NIST CSF. Okay, so the assessment is not embedded within the NIST. Within NIST, we have what we call the tiers, tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can use those in order to assess or prioritize security-related activities. But if you really want to do a self-assessment using the NIST, there are so many Excel sheets and resources available for free on the internet. You can use those. I really encourage you to get those from the previous webinar.
Okay. So thank you, Bachir, for this very informative workshop. We will make this session records available on our chapter LinkedIn page. So thank you very much for our audience. I hope you have enjoyed this session. And Sahar Mdankum. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
Salam.